Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of Relationship Talk with Mara Moline. And I have my lovely co-host here, Nikki Amore. And we have our guest co-host, Pastor Carly Ludy with us. Say hi to the people. Lundy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm back. Say hi to the people. Hi,
What's
people.
up? How you guys doing?
Thank you so much, everybody who's joining us today. And I first want to start off by saying, please remember to follow the Wrong Relationship Project on Instagram and Twitter. It's the Wrong RP. Also, like, comment, and share this broadcast on your page so your friends and family can see this. Today we're going to be talking about the importance, or is there importance in family today? Is there a necessity and a need for families in this generation, in this culture today? And so we brought on Pastor Carly to help us discuss that, right? Because I'm the only single person here, so I ain't got no... You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no children or no husband or nothing like that, okay?
But you still got family, though. So.
Yeah, but it's different when you're single, though. I love my life. I love it. It's beautiful. Okay, so my first question of the day is, what is the purpose of family? So who wants to start that off between the both of you guys?
I mean, I think the purpose of family is, I think life is all about family. The church was built on family. In the Bible, God talks about family, his only son, his only begotten son. So I think family is the foundation of everything. Family is what pushes somebody. Family is what sometimes drives somebody crazy. You know, family is what gives a person that extra push to maybe, you know, break a world record or do something that it's always the family in mind. A dad is always thinking about providing for his family. A mom is thinking about, hey, I got to provide for my kids, or generally you would think that. So family is, to me, the base and the foundation of everything. To me, growing up in a family, I mean, I grew up in a 2-parent home. Most of my family is tight. I mean, everybody got the crazy person in their family. Everybody got, you know, that cousin or whatever. But family is real important to me because I've always had family in my life. There has been no point where, you know, my family wasn't involved, whether it's my mom's side or my dad's side. Family is a big part of who I am. So to me, family is the foundation of everything.
Okay. Pastor?
You know, I didn't understand the purpose, or not that I didn't understand the purpose, but I didn't see the significance of family until later in life when I became a Christian. I mean, I had family. I grew up with, you know, my mom, my dad, but I don't know if I saw a purpose like that. We had a greater purpose. And so when I became a Christian, and so having a biblical worldview, like you said, you touched on it, man, God is family, you know, the fact that you had the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. I mean, God shows us family, and then he calls us and he created us in his image to reflect that. And so even from eternity, you see family existing. And even after, you know, all this is done here in eternity, we're still going to see family. And so family is something that's like huge in the heart of God. And so that should be huge in our hearts too.
So what do you think the purpose of God creating family?
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I think the Bible starts with how God sets everything in order, right? So in Genesis, you see how everything is chaotic, and then God brings order to it, right? He creates the cosmos, and he brings order. He creates, like, people, or even before he got to people, he created everything, and he put order to it. But then you get into God created man. He creates man, but then we see he creates and he gives the institution of marriage. But then you see community and family, right? And so I think God does all these things in order because what he does is he gives one family as a vehicle to bring order into you know, society, right? Because if you take any of those things out, like, and this is why we have so many issues, we take how God set things, we bring chaos to it. Like, so if you take out man and who man is called to be and his role, then that affects marriage, right? And then that affects family. And so and I think this is why God kind of set those things so he gives
order.
in order. And so I think what family does, it brings order
Order.
into society. It's the building block, for society and culture.
I got an offering bucket for you. I got it.
Oh.
Pastor had a word. Pastor had a word. We thank
I feel like
Yes.
I'm probably going to preach the whole time.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But you got the little. You ain't got a quite Joel Osteen thing going on, but no joking.
Not
But
far from that.
I had to throw that in there a little bit. But talking about order, segueing into that. So as we talk about, the purpose of family and that God created family. He created that to bring order to the earth. So that we see that. So what is the family structure since now he brought order?
I mean, just like that, God he created man. He created man, and then he gave man order. He said, you have, one, me as your head, right? But then two, you have responsibility. Man understanding that he's a leader, or one, to submit first, understanding that you are to submit under God, his authority, but then two, understanding that you have purpose, and man's purpose was to bring order to creation, right? God said, name these animals, right? And so he was giving man the purpose of bringing order. But then three, man brought life, right? And so speaking things, like he was naming these animals, he was giving them identity, he was giving them like significance, right? So the power that man had to speak these things. But then we see God instituting marriage and how important that is. So you have a strong leader and a family, but then you also have one who's committed to his wife, right? Because that's what the Bible says, that Adam took his wife, his one wife, right? He became one flesh with her. And so marriage is also significant in family. But then after that, you also have man leading his wife well, and we see how like chaotic it was, like when he stepped back. He stepped back, and then Eve went about doing her own thing, and then later,
I like that a jab at the women. Like you're seeing you women by yourself. You up to some messy business.
But you know what though? It's not Eve's fault, right? Because Adam was there. The Bible said that Adam was just like there watching. And I feel like if you look at it, Adam probably was like, hey, if someone's gonna like die to see if God's gonna, like
Let it be the
true,
woman.
let me see what happens to Eve. Right? And I feel like that's where God came to Adam first, was like, yo, Adam, like, where were you? What
So
were
that
you
is
doing?
true.
So you're saying the family structure is the man,
Man, understanding
then
his
the woman, and
Well,
then
I would
the
say
children, or
family structure should be God.
God first.
Man submitting himself to God, right? Because man also submits. So, like men like walk around, especially Christian men, like women have to submit to me. No, I mean, men submit
Not if you ain't
first.
submitting to Jesus.
Exactly, right? So man submit first to God, then man leads himself well, right? You have to lead before you can, or you have to lead yourself first before you can invite people to follow you. And so man leading himself well, but then man seeing the value of marriage, and then man being present in marriage. Because a lot of times you have like these fathers who are home, but they're not necessarily present, right? So knowing what's happening with your family, like, Eve, where are you? What are you doing? I'm responsible for you. Let me lead you well. But then after that, leading your kids, because we see right after that, like Cain and Abel, and then chaos after that. So you have man submitting to God, man leading himself well, then man understanding the significance of marriage, and then man leading that family to bring order.
Nikki, do you agree? Because I know the submitting. I know it's kind of hard for a lot of women where he said submit in the whole in the
That's
garden
a curse
thing.
word to,
You think the
to
structure is
I don't
right?
think it's a curse word. I mean, do I think in the society of women sometimes we're so empowered that it may be difficult for a woman to submit to a man, but not necessarily difficult, because you see the women that, you know what, it's like, I could do it myself, I could do it all by myself. And then you do have those women, they're like, okay, yeah, I know I could probably do it by myself, but I don't want to do it by myself. Like, I have no problem submitting, as long as, like he said, if he's submitting to God and leading
himself,
and leading himself and following God, then at that point I have no problem, because guess what? I have no question and no doubt that he is following, submitting himself to God. Therefore, he won't lead my family astray. Because you also got to think about it. Women, especially if you're talking about a family, we're very protective of our children. So that's why you will find a mom, say for instance, the dad is on drugs or he's an alcoholic. You will see firsthand some of those women say, no, you got to get out of here. Because one, you're not going to affect this family. They know the power that the man has to affect the family. So I'm going to get this piece that before you taint our home and taint our children, you go get help. You get out the house, because I have to protect our seeds. Yeah. Because if anything, if their son or their daughter sees that the dad is coming home that way, or the dad is leading the kids astray, it's going to affect them. One, the son may think, you know what, this is what a man is supposed to do. Or the daughter may say, hey, you know what, this is what my husband is supposed to be. That's why you see most daughters, they have that saying, a daughter marries somebody like her father. Because it's what they see. I saw my dad. That's the image that they think, okay, this is what a man is supposed to do. This is how a man is supposed to treat me. Therefore, I'm going to find that. So women are very protective of their seed. I would always say that. So I think women don't have a problem, and maybe I'm speaking for the minority and not the majority, but I don't think women have a problem submitting as long as they know that their husband is first submitting to God. If you're submitting to God and you're leading the family the right way, I don't believe women have a problem submitting to their husband.
Okay. So going into the structure. So now we see the purpose of family. The purpose of family is bringing order, right? And then we see the structure, the order of the family would be the man submitting to God. So it's God, and then the man submitting to God, and the woman submitting to the man, and then the children submitting to their parents. So now that we see that in this particular generation, and as I was talking to you guys earlier, I was saying in a particular social media page that I follow, there's a video up about a young lady who goes to daddy-daughter day with her daughter, but she's dressed up as a man. And it was like this big controversy that goes down about it. And so now, we know that gay marriage is legal now and all these different things. Now that we see the structure that the man is the leader, how does that, how do men in this generation, how are they able to lead? Because now we see men are home, being
stay-at-home dads.
Stay-at-home dads. Women are bringing more money to the family. Like, it kind of has flipped. Because before, in our older generation, it was the man who was going to work, the woman who stayed home. Now you have 2-parent incomes, all these different things. So does the structure now shift? And if it does, where does the man end up in this situation?
I don't think the structure shifts. I don't think money has an issue, because it doesn't matter who makes the bigger bucks. The man is still the man of the house. Like, that's still your dad, just because he.
But let's be realistic, because it's some women out here.
It is realistic.
They don't believe it. Be real, because it's a lot of boss.
That's why I said
a lot of boss
I speak
up
for
in here.
the minority.
I want to say the word.
We are the minority.
You know exactly what I'm saying.
That's what I said. I may speak for the minority, not the majority.
Okay.
But I don't think money should have a play in it. Like,
but
just
because it does.
And again, money is the root of all evil. Money is what rules the world. Yes, do we need money to survive? I get it. But that shouldn't change who you are. That shouldn't change the structure. I don't believe at no point in time should nobody belittle anybody because you got more zeros on your paycheck than me.
Right,
We're all still human. We all still take a crap. We all still bleed red blood. The amount of zeros that's on your check doesn't make you better than me, nor does it make me better than you. So no woman should feel the need to belittle their husband just because their paycheck is lower than yours. Yeah. You get what I mean?
And they do that.
They do that. I will say you do have some women that feel like, okay, because I make the bigger bucks, I'm the one that's making the calls. No, it don't work like that. Okay. Not unless, you got a crackhead that's about to spend your money. Then at that point, if you got to, you got to fill in a role at this moment to protect your family, then that's a whole different story. But I'm just saying, in a normal home where nobody, has a drug issue or has an alcohol issue and everything is like normal, because normal is, normal. But it shouldn't be an issue just because you got more zeros than me. No, that should the children should still see that's daddy, that's mommy. Whether daddy picks me up, they should.
They should, but I want to say this: they don't.
I know it's sad.
They really don't, and so that's why I say, because I hear from a lot of men who, even in dating, it's really difficult for them because you do have these very strong-headed, Formation
and that's
Lemonade.
Why they single.
I'm just Formation saying. Lemonade, you know what I'm saying? Beyonce type. No, I'm joking. And they do bring that up, and even in the home, some of them emasculate the men. So that's why I asked. So what is the man's role in today's society, in today's generation?
I mean, one, I think money is powerful because it gives us a sense of identity, right? But I think it's also for, like, you talk about the women, they have more money and they feel independent. But I think the reverse happens for men, like, because me personally, right, I used to think about that. If my wife made more money than me, I would have this sense of, like, pride, like, oh, snap, like, you make more money than me. Like, are you the head of the household? Because, like, you're actually paying the rent, You're actually like...
Because you a pastor and y'all don't really make that much, huh?
We broke. I'm broke.
It's real out here.
I don't got Joel's money.
It's real out here.
My wife... Okay, so my wife wants to be a dentist, right? My wife one day will make, literally 10 times more than me, right? And so...
will that make you feel less of a man because she...
Now, will I submit to that feeling? No, I'm gonna fight it, but is that feeling in me? Yeah, because as a man, you want to, because
that's what you were raised. Yeah,
and I was just gonna say, do you think that comes with the upbringing?
I think upbringing and just sin too, because as a man, you want to shoulder your family financially, in any way, right? As a man, you want to say, I did this, and that's why men are fixers. You want to fix your home, provide for your home, take care of your home, and that's kind of like nature too. Adam was the man who led and did whatever. But that doesn't have to be based on your income, right? You still could lead your household even if you don't make as much as your wife, right? So right now, man, my wife, in some ways, she leads our home because she's like the CEO. She take care of the bills, right? I make the money, but I wouldn't be able to tell you a login, a password. I can, right?
I will say it's just like the conversation that we had before. You have something that men are great at, and you just have other things that women are so much better at. Like Greg will tell you, he'll be like, yeah, she's more organized than me, so talk to Nikki about that. But it's stuff that I'm totally lost, and I'll be like, okay, so babe, I'm at work. How do you do this? We have
roles, right? And so, and your role is not less significant, and my role is not more significant, right? We're helpmate, and so we're co-equals, right? And so I think that's what happens. We define these roles differently. So you are a woman, therefore you're less than me, and that's not true. God made everyone in His image, and there's no lesser image,
exactly,
right? And so for my wife, I would probably say, man, she is killing it. With paying the bills on time and taking care of the kids and stuff like that. And so I would never come home and say, oh, you just stay home all day, right? You're a stay-at-home mom, and I'm the one that's working, so I have a better role,
and there's some men that
or a harder role than you. Because I stayed home with my kids one day, and I was ready to die. Because, I didn't know where the diapers were. I didn't know I needed to feed them on time. I didn't know how to put them to sleep. I'm
I think that's every woman's nightmare. It'd be like, you didn't do what? I
LOL,
don't understand.
Is that what you went through?
I don't have a mic.
Oh, you don't? You were talking.
He does have a mic.
He was sorry earlier, but go ahead.
No, it's real because like the things that my wife does at home from 9 to 5 when I'm out, it's like nonstop. You know what I'm saying? Especially with 3 kids, because I can easily think, man, she's at home watching TV and then taking a nap, reading a book. Nah,
Ain't no
like
nap
it's
time.
from the moment she wakes up, baby is crying, let's feed the baby. Then the 2 other kids are awake. Okay, so let me, feed them and then teach him something, like, so it's a lot that goes on. And so I would never say that my wife has a lesser role and I'm like greater than her as far as like my role as a man.
So where does leadership come in then? Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's good.
let's just say she does pay the bills and everything like that. Where does the order of leadership and submission and everything that we talked about comes in? How does that look in a home where, okay, you are a pastor, you don't make no money, but she became a dentist and she made all the money. Like, you feel what I'm saying? How does now, even you fighting your pride, as you said, how does now you lead your family submitting to God, her submitting to you? How does that look?
I mean, as any leader, I think what you want to do is cast a vision. Like, what is the vision for our family? How are we going to get there? Like, what is it? What do we need to do? How do we get there? And like, so my wife, for example, I mean, we want to get out of debt. And so she looks to me, to work and provide, but when she looks at our bill, she asks, okay, can you give me your input as far as like, where should we pay? What should we pay first or what not, right? And so I think she wants from me to be able to cast a vision for our family. Like, what should our family look like? One, in the Lord, right? As far as our family should be a family who are centered in the Lord, we're praying, we're having devotions together and all that stuff. So she looks to me to do that. And so I think that's an honor. I don't think that's like, oh man, I'm the man, so yeah, that's what I should do. But the fact that she thinks like, man, you have great wisdom, so I'm going to submit to your wisdom. I think that's an honor, not like in a prideful way, but like, man, the fact that you view me that way, you trust me. Mm-hmm. And so now as a man, my responsibility is to cast vision for our family, speak life to my son. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially now.
Like Khaled does his son? No, I'm joking. You're the best. You're the great. No,
and you know what? That's great. I think we should give props to him because you don't have that anymore. Even speak life to my wife too. With the culture of like women trying to like compare themselves and be something that they're not. I think as a man, like speaking life into your own wife, building her up, so like as a pastor, I think about leading a church, but I think the Bible gives mandate for me to lead my family first. I can't lead a church if I can't lead my family. And so I'm a pastor at my home first, leading my wife in the Lord, praying with them, waking up in the morning, praying with the kids, like.
So what would be your advice to a man who is not a pastor, but let's just say he works and I'm going to move on to another question, but let's just say he works a job that's not paying him as much as his wife, but he's still a man of God, going to church. What would you say to him? He's not a pastor, but would you give him the same advice?
You
be
are
the priest of his house?
You're the pastor of your home. You're not a pastor of a congregation, but you're a pastor of your home. And then your family is your congregation. Because your wife is looking to you, your kids are looking to you, and so they're like, I have strong convictions if I go and I stand and I preach, but then at home I was a jerk to my wife because she's looking at me, it was like, whatever you're saying is a lie, right? Because you weren't that at home. I can't preach to the congregation about patience, kindness, and love when I'm not any of that at home. And so at home, I'm a pastor first to my wife, then I pastor a church. And so I would say to any guy, like, understand you're a leader first at home before you can try to lead an organization, be a manager at a job or whatever if you can't lead your home, you can't be trusted as a leader of anything, right? And so that's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
But not only that, don't you feel like a great leader is also a great follower? Like, say, for instance, if he said if his wife is better at numbers, You can't let your pride get in the way, or you're going to be in
like-
years and years of debt. As a great leader, you know, hey, you know what? This is my strong suit. She's smarter at maybe doing this one thing. I can submit to my wife and let her, not necessarily submit to my wife, but, you know, I can be humble to
It
be
is
like, okay,
that.
but.
Because the Bible says submit to one another.
Exactly.
Right? And so I think it's like,
But, you know, when you say submit to your wife, some men feel some type of way. So, you know,
that
just in
word,
case.
I feel like that word is what
You know, it's
what
some
offends
people be
people.
feeling like, oh my God, like she said or he said. Just, you know, you got, if just in case we got some sensitive people on the live, we just want to,
I submit to my wife a lot. There's times that my wife says stuff and I'm like, babe, you're right. You're right. I can be very arrogant and prideful and then do it wrong, right? Or I could just say, man, yeah, you right. You saw it, and yeah, I'm gonna
like
do
you
it.
give her props, give your props, and then you just make a joke out of it. But
You
I'm
need
just
that,
saying,
though.
you
You need
do. But I'm just saying, you know, a great leader is a great following. You're a great
That's
worker
true.
as well.
Yeah.
If I'm leading this family, Greg's leading this family. I can't say I, but I'm just saying, if Greg lead.
LOL.
I'm sorry. If LOL is leading this family, and then I am, I may
That's
have
her
insight
husband.
to
That's her
something
husband.
Yeah.
that he doesn't. You know, he's man enough to be like, all right, you got this.
Yeah.
What do you think, or what direction? You know, we both, like you said, we both have the vision of this family. We know what the end goal is.
Yeah.
If you got something to help us get there, we're gonna work together.
Definitely.
So.
Okay, so moving on to our next question. So why do you think so many families are absent of these men? So back to the video where the lady had to dress up like a dad to go to her daughter's, daddy-daughter. And it was a question you had asked me when I brought this up. And it was...
What I asked? She ain't had no uncle. No. And the
Or
only reason
any
why I
other
say
men.
that, again, it goes to, now that I just thought about it, it goes to a woman being very protective of her children. So say, for instance, we don't know in her case, what if the father just passed away? Or what if the father just got incarcerated? Or what if the father at that point is on drugs and he's away, either still struggling or at therapy, and she doesn't want it to impact her child emotionally? A mama's gonna do whatever she can in her power to get it. What if she just moved and she don't have family? Like I said, what if again, and it shows you how much family is a part of my life, because my first question is, okay, where's the uncles?
Right.
Where's the brother? Because in any family, just because one man step off, the other mans are going to step up. Okay, just because your dad decided that, you know what, he want to go somewhere or whatever, that it just didn't work out, other men in the family are going to step up and be like, you know what, you're not less than somebody else because your dad's not there 24/7, or you're not lacking because there's other men in the family that's going to take that role.
So
and do
you're
it.
saying the absence of men in the family is maybe the mother is being protective of who she brings into the family? This is when she has kids?
When she has kids, yeah, she's going to be protective of her family.
So why do you think so many families are absent of the men?
I mean, one,
Because sometimes men are there, but they're just not
but-
there.
and that's the thing.
That
like,
too. It
it's
depends on the
sad.
upbringing.
It's a sad thing, so we have to acknowledge that. But I think you hit it, because you have all these men, but then why don't they step up? And I think that's the vice of all men. Like the thing that plagues all men is passivity, right? And so if we don't fight it, all men, I mean, I probably get some pushback on that, but I think all men are passive in some ways, and then we have to just fight it. And so whether we are taking on responsibility, and this is kind of like what we see now, right? A man lays down with a woman, have a baby, but then whose responsibility is it?
A woman.
Right? I mean, so we have issues with that where guys are not taking on the responsibility, or guys not choosing to step up to lead. And so it goes all the way back to original sin of Adam. And this is, one, what God said as far as Adam, because of this, right? Your wife is always going to try to, like, usurp authority, right? Your wife is always going to, your desire, Eve, your desire will always be for your husband, right? Which is his role, or so. And then for Adam, like this passivity that was in him, where you just sit back and then you just allow chaos to happen in family. And so as far as men, we see that pass on to us, right? Which is sad, especially in the black community, right? You see absent fathers, and because of that, you don't have these men leading these kids not to be like that, you know, or not teaching kids to stand up and lead well. And so I think that's what's messing up like families and messing up communities,
And the
because
order.
like just absent fathers, or the fathers may be home, but they're just like absent-minded, right? And so my dad worked 3 or 4 jobs.
Oh, wow.
But then when he came home, he was so tired. I mean, like, I know he loved us, but then as far as like the dad to lead a family, to lead me as a man, like, not there. And so you have a lot of guys who may be home, or fathers who may be home, but then they're not really present. And they're checked out. And so
true.
you're just passing that same behavior to the next man.
Yeah, I know with my father, he was very active in our lives. Like, he would take us out to the movies. He would take us to dinner. Always in conversation with us, especially with me, when he would take me to school sometimes. We would have conversations about everything. But there is a necessity in having that relationship when you have your dad to step up. But it was always funny when it came to certain things. If I knew my parents agreed on a particular situation, because I'll go and ask my mom, and she'll be like, go ask your dad. And my dad will be like, go ask your mom. So that means that none of them want to say no to you, but
Right.
they're going to keep going back and forth with you. You know, and then we would have family meetings and stuff like that. So,
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
yeah, man, those family
I
meetings.
thought, you know, back in the day when you're young, you're like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
like, why
man.
we gotta keep having family meetings?
Oh,
Why your
man.
dad? Like, my dad was the dad. I saw my
Yeah.
middle school teacher last year. She now works at Booker T. She's still teaching. And she remembers my dad's full government name and my government name because of how many times my dad came out to that middle school. Like, security guards knew I could not do nothing wrong because I will call Mr. Murray. I'm not playing with this type thing. And I used to be like, oh my, you are so embarrassing. But it's not until you get older that you appreciate that stuff. It's like, you know what? Because of you
Definitely.
being so
Yeah.
active
Yeah.
in my life, I probably would have
You
turned
see the
out
order
horrible.
brought to you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Yeah,
And
dad.
not to say like a single mom can't bring order.
She can
to the
definitely
family.
bring
She
order.
but there's something missing.
She can bring order,
Right.
but I guarantee you, if you speak to any single mom, they will tell you it is the difference between their order and having a man active and present in a child's life.
Yeah, I don't think a woman's shoulders is
Built
built
to carry,
that. And some women are very strong in
They'll
doing
do
that.
it if they have to, but then again,
yeah.
that's how you find those women that are saying, I don't need you, because they've had to do it for so long. I don't need you here because I got it.
So, okay, going into that, so how are men supposed to play their role in this generation? How do you think that role
Yeah,
should look
that's
like? How do you think it should go?
It's interesting, like when a child is born, like they're born helpless. Like there's nothing that they know. They don't know how to speak. They don't know how to walk. They don't know anything, right? And so it's kind of like you're a blank white sheet of paper, and that's what we come into this world like that. But then we see how important it is to shape, right? So a child is shaped by what they see. Man, it's amazing seeing how much my son knows. And I'm like, I've never taught him these things. Words. I've never taught him words. But he can speak a full sentence. And I'm like, we've never said. But they imitate what they see. Right?
They
And
definitely do.
So whether you're intentional or unintentional, like everything that you're doing, like it's writing on that blank sheet. You know, you're writing and you're creating something in their soul.
I agree, yeah.
Right. And so as far as like, especially a male, the power that he has to, one, speak life into his son, but then also speak life into his daughter. All right. So like being able to let my son have like, you know, some strong backbone, you know, but then at the same time be humble about it. And so what we have in our culture now, you have guys who are very strong, but then they don't know how to be, you know, in tune with their
Humble.
emotions.
Yeah.
And because they don't know how to be in tune with their emotions, like they have all these rage inside of them, and then, you know, we have chaos, right? So being able to give a male balance, like be strong, be a leader, but then at the same time, like, you know, understand like healthy emotions.
Yeah, that's kind of like what Jay-Z was talking about in his album.
I
How
don't listen to Jay-Z. I listen
I know
to
you don't listen to Jay-Z.
Lecrae, and I listen to.
I know, yeah, whatever.
Like
But yeah,
Yeah.
okay. LOL. We
listen
know
to
you listen to
Tupac.
Jay-Z.
Yeah, Tupac's okay.
But he did. The reason why I bring it up is because he had a documentary and he was talking about how, because he grew up in a hyper masculine
Yeah.
environment, when he with the whole situation with Beyonce, it was like he realized, oh my God, I have to be emotional. I
Yeah.
can't be this, I'm scared that she's going to leave me, but you grow up in an environment that tells you,
You're a barbarian.
yes, but then when you get married, when you get in a relationship, when you have kids,
Yeah.
it's
Totally
like you
different.
got to soften up a little bit. You can't be thug, out here thug, out shoot 'em up. You know what I'm
struggled
saying?
with that. Like, I didn't have my dad. My dad is like very rough, tough, right? And then my wife is very soft, right? And so, coming together, like me being like very rough and then my wife being so soft, like I was hurting her all the time. Like I would say stuff and I'm like, why are you crying? You know what I'm saying? Like that's you being sensitive. Like I didn't know how to be sensitive. But then like just her helping me to understand, like
To soften up.
but then even the Lord too kind of showing me the balance with emotions.
Yeah, because y'all need to soften up. You need to get your life together.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was so funny that you talked about your kids picking things up, because I have a nephew, and when I go over to see my best friend, I always like to say, what the hell? So
He said it.
it's so funny because he
Oh,
went
if I was
to
there, I would have called you and
he
I would
went
have
to
been
his
like, do you know what this little boy
no,
just
she
said?
did. So he went over to his grandparents, and he was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So watch what you
up.
say around these
Pick up.
kids.
They
Watch
even
what
pick
you
up
say.
like stuff I do with my wife. Like it's so crazy. Like if I'm leaving, going to work, and I give my wife a hug, like they're looking, they're staring, and their eyes are like wide open, right? And then they run and like we do a group hug, And so I think like just little stuff like that, just instilling. that
Oh,
in them.
Cosby family.
But
All right, so we getting ready to wrap it up, but go ahead. Continue.
I was gonna say not to add on to that is also it depends on the family. Just like you said, every family has a vision. So granted, you grew up rough, but then once you had your kids, you knew what you didn't want to
Right,
do.
what I
Like
didn't want.
everybody
Right.
has. Once you have a way about yourself, and you're like, okay, I'm this way because of my mom, or I'm this way because of my dad. But once you have a human being that you're responsible for,
different.
your whole thought pattern changes, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, you automatically know what you want to do and how you want their life to turn out and what you don't want to do.
That's
So I feel
true.
like that plays in it too, because it's like, okay, yeah, you had a rough life, but you already know, okay, I don't want to
Yeah.
throw this on to my child, so I'm going to do whatever it takes to get myself right, so by the time they start absorbing all this stuff, I'm a better man or I'm a better woman for this child. So that's the natural thing that normally
Right,
happens.
right.
Some situations it's not like that. Some situations, mom is still hurt or dad is still hurt emotionally, and they're not emotionally capable to give the child what their needs. But in
Exactly. Yeah.
normal cases, you get in a situation to where you want to be better for that child.
Right.
You want that child to have a better lifestyle. If the dad wasn't present, you say, you know what, my dad wasn't present, but I want to be present in my child's life. So that's what pushes a father to be very present in
Yeah.
their child's life. So again, it goes with the vision that you want for your family. You know what you want your family to be, and you know
Right.
what it doesn't want to be. So you're going to work every day to make sure that vision happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But our last question, which is the question of the day, is how does a strong, successful family impact the community? So we must define strong, and we
Sure.
got to define
Successful. That's good. Yeah.
So I would define strong as a family that's emotionally functional. I think in some families, people are not, like you said, expressive. If your son doesn't see you saying "I love you" to your wife, or even "I love you" to him, he may not grow up being able to express himself emotionally, or just addressing mental health, or just different things that they're probably going through. I would describe that as being strong. And just strong spiritually, like that structure too. And I think success is relative to that
Exactly.
particular family.
Right.
That's just how I feel. So anyways, if you have those families in the community, how would you say that impacts the community?
I think it has a huge impact on the community, because if you label success different ways for different families, success may be the amount of zeros that you have on a check, but then another family may say success is being educated. You go to school, you educate yourself about politics, you educate yourself about economics, you're going to want to, whatever education that you give yourself in being educated, it's going to change the way you live your life, it's going to change the way you spend your money, it's going to have a great impact on you. So however you label success or not, whatever you do or whatever community you decide to be a part of, you're going to give that. So say if your family focuses on education, you're not going to have your sons out late at night in the middle of the night on the corner selling dope. No, that's not your child. Your child is in their bed because they either got studying to do or they got school in the morning and their mama don't play that.
Yeah.
So when you have different families where the structure is proper, they have a man that's leading the household the right way, that, even if, say for instance, because everybody isn't Christian, but even if they're not Christian, but they're the head of the household, they're teaching their son how to be a man. You know what I'm saying? Not selling drugs, get educated, do the right thing, get a good job with benefits. Because I remember the movie John Q. I'll never forget it when I was a girl. When it first came out, my dad saw it. That was the first time I ever saw my dad cry. Obviously, my father, if anybody knows my father, he gave me a long speech after he set me and my brother down and explained how hard it is growing up as a black man. But not only that, the responsibility you have as in to get a good job so you can have insurance, because you can't control life. If something like that happened, how would you feel as a man providing for your family that your child needs a heart surgery done and you can't provide it because you don't got insurance?
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yes,
so if you're educated that way and you still have a man there to do that, you're going to find less crime because your kids aren't stealing somebody else's stuff so their family can have it. You're going to find less drugs. I mean, granted, you're going to have drugs addict wherever it is, but if you have a healthy family, emotionally, mentally, they're not the ones outside causing chaos. You're like the Cosbys. Everybody in the house. Right. So if you have more families like that, you have less violence in the community, less drugs in the community. So I think that's why the whole push, even the Black Lives Matter, it's get men involved. These kids that don't have family, because once you get that and you change what they see and expose them to something else, like, look, you can make money being smart. Jay-Z even put out the song, Be Smart About It. You change what they're used to seeing, you change the community, you change the path that they're going down, and you won't see them on the corner selling dope no more. You'll see them with a book.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Pastor?
Good. I think it takes one family to raise up, like a Martin Luther King, right? It takes one family to raise up a Hitler or a Dylan Roof. You know what I'm saying? But then that one individual, whichever way they end up morally, we see how much they impact
the
community, the whole, right? And so we just don't think about how small things can cause large effect, right? Make great impact. And so for me, my goal is to lay a strong foundation. And I think that's what strength for me, and to define strength, having a foundation. I'm not going to make my kids be like me. I can't. But if I set a foundation, then whatever they build on, that's going to be strong because the foundation is strong. And so my role is to make sure that my family has a strong foundation in the Lord, because once that happens, I think wherever God takes them, I think they're going to make an impact. As far as success, I think seeing what a man looks like, that's my success. If I can do that for my son, what does a husband look like for my daughter, and then what does marriage look like, for both of my kids, right? And so I think for me that's success, more than money, more than a big house, because a lot of people have money, big house, blah, 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 whatever, and they still have families that they're like, yo, I wish, whatever, right? So those are strong success. But then again, right, you start with yourself, you start with the family that you have, but then you go into community, you go into society, and then that's how impact happen, all right? You start small as far as your home, your household. That's your small little world, because that's where they learn compassion. in order for them to have compassion outside of the home. That's where they learn caring for one another in order for them to care outside of the home. You know, that's where they learn love. That's where they learn hate. That's when I was listening to Chris Brown, not his song, but he had.
We know you listen to Chris Brown.
I dance
Everybody
like
that knows
Chris Breezy,
knows
we
that
know
I'm a
that.
huge advocate for Chris
So-
Brown, only
You know
because
that.
they did him wrong.
It was
Just saying.
it was a video. He
A
had.
documentary?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think
He
it was
came out with a documentary.
Yeah,
he
he
did.
did.
And so about like what happened with him and Rihanna and whatnot. But he was like, yo, this is not who I am. And then so when it happened, like the thing that killed him was how his mother was viewing him, because his mother started viewing him, or he thought that his mother was viewing him in light of the abuse that she was having at home with the dad. But then he was saying like the stuff that he did, he kept viewing himself as the stepfather. And so those were the things that he didn't know, he didn't realize he picked up, right? Unconsciously picked up behaviors from his stepfather, and then we see that played out in his relationships. And so the same thing with my kids, like unconsciously, like they're picking up stuff. And for me too, directly or indirectly, I'm teaching them and stuff, right? So I'm teaching them how to love a woman, how to respect a woman, or how to mistreat a woman. But then you go into society, how to treat all women crazy, right? Abuse them, or how to have respect for women, right? Or my daughter, value, like finding value. I'm telling you, she's my princess, and she would walk up to me all the time, Daddy, I'm beautiful, right? Right? Because I tell her that. But now I don't need you to go out in the streets to find your beauty or your identity in men, and you're not going to be on a strip pole, right? Exactly. Because I'm teaching you who you are at home. And then so we start seeing how that impacts like community at large, when you can make sure like you parent your you lead well at home.
Okay, so we are going to end. I really want to bring you back because I'm really kind of I'm really interested in hearing how marriage has changed you, because you 6 in the game, y'all what, 8 or 9 in the game? Okay,
No, this year makes 10.
Oh,
Wow.
9. Okay, I thought
No, wait.
So y'all got a dime up in here, almost next year.
Almost.
But because hearing that you said that you were rough and your wife was soft, I never seen that, like us being friends back in the days before you got married. I didn't know that you was
like
mean like that. But see,
Hidden
that marriage
aggression.
take that thing out, boy.
It's like
I'm
a lot
learning a lot. I'm like, Lord, I
Yeah.
don't know. Y'all, I'm teetering. Y'all making me teeter.
Teeter-totter.
Y'all making me teeter.
It's like aggression, you hide these, you know,
Exactly.
but you just,
It's like some of my friends that are married now, they telling me some things. I'm teetering. I'm like, I don't know. I think I like the single life. But I want to say thank you so much for coming
thank
through.
you.
Thank you for sitting with us. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, LOL, even though he was trying to whatever in the background. But I want to end by saying family is so necessary.
It is.
Especially a godly one, because as we talked about earlier, it brings order if we do it the right way, if we do it the way that God has called us to do it. And when we do it that way, we raise up impactful, functional individuals who go out here and make an impact in the community. But as Carly was saying, it starts small and then it grows because we want to multiply those families the same way. So
good.
your daughter goes out and get married, your son goes out and get married, and they impact their communities. And that's why family is so important. And I understand that society and everything and the culture tries to tear that down, that particular image down, because they realize that God built a structure. And in order to dismantle that structure, they're going to make the vision of family distorted or different from what God called it to be. So I would encourage anybody who is married or, and family is not only defined by, as they were saying to me, because I'm single, as they were saying to me, you don't have to be married, because that's true. Family could be, just
family.
what your church family or what you make it. And so we impact each other, how we treat each other and love each other and speak to each other. You know what I'm saying? Just your neighbors, your community, the people that you see, those people can be your family. And so I just would encourage everybody to just know that what you do impacts and affect your community, and that then infects the world. So, or affects the world. So until next time, thank you for joining us on Relationship Talk with Mara Boleen. Did you guys have anything y'all want to say to people before we leave? No, nothing.
No.
Nah,
But we love
nah.
you guys. See you until next time. Bye.
All right.